My name is Jade, owner and principal planner of Joyful Events by Jade, and this is The Cookie Table. This is a podcast all about love, marriage, relationships, and the wedding industry, wedding news. Perfect for anyone that is getting married, is married, a wedding vendor, or someone that just loves weddings. Grab your favorite cookie from The Cookie Table, pour yourself a glass of Chardonnay, and let's get into it.
Pop that Prosecco, baby.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I love that you mentioned Prosecco. Are you a bubblehead?
I love bubbles.
Love it. Okay.
I trust myself on it. La Marca is actually my preferred brand.
Okay.
Market District,
Is that what I
under
got?
$15. Yeah, La Marca's the shit. I have been dabbling in dirty martinis when I'm out.
Love that.
Because I can have two and be good for the whole night. With Prosecco, if I have more than two, my stomach, it's just like really sweet.
It is.
It is. But yeah, I love bubbles.
One of my good friends, she's a big bubblehead too. She loves it. It's fun. I get to pop
Yeah.
I won't hit anyone.
It's the signature brand visual for every wedding planner in this city.
Every fucking wedding planner.
You hate to see it, but there's nothing else to really do, to be honest.
There's not. But
cheers
cheers to that. Cheers to that. Love it. Love it. Bear with me as I pour this, but
No, take your time.
Heather Davis.
Hello.
Heather Davis Inc.
I'm here.
Thank you so much for joining the
my
Cookie
God,
Table.
please. Of course.
I'm honored.
Inevitable.
You, like I said, you're a professional behind the mic. You've had a podcast since 2020, so you know what the heck you're doing.
Yes, it's been start and stop. As you know, it's really hard to stay consistent when this isn't your full-time job and you're not making direct revenue off of it. It started out, like I was telling your studio guy, just as a way to stay connected to the wedding community during lockdown and trying to just find a platform. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks for setting this all
Oh my God,
up.
of course. Cheers.
Labor of love.
It really is.
And then, it kind of grew legs from there, and I started taking it a little more seriously. I've definitely taken many breaks, starts and stops, but as we'll get into later, I'll share what's coming up next.
Well, I can't wait to hear it all. So today is really about kind of, let's think of it as a story and your beautiful character arc. So you are currently Heather Davis Inc.
Correct.
Which again, we'll get into all of that. But let's start from the beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
From the very beginning. Let's talk about you.
Okay. So born and raised on Long Island, New York.
Nice.
Very, very proud to be from there, but also very grateful that I don't live there anymore.
Yeah.
Long story short, I went to school for journalism in upstate New York. I wanted to major in dance, but I didn't.
Okay.
And then I met my husband in journalism classes.
Aw.
Yeah. We ended up doing long distance for a little bit after graduation. I moved back to Long Island with my parents, and he moved back to his hometown about 8 hours north, basically Canada.
Wow. Okay.
We did long distance for a year. We're both very wanderlust, just wandering lost people sometimes. We don't really have roots, and we're not ever really sure what direction we're going in. So we ended up living in Spain for a few months, working at music festivals, making burritos, living in a tent with a British expat. So we did that for a while because I didn't want to face reality or get a regular job. I wasn't ready at all. Ended up running out of money, came home. And then we visited his old college roommate who went to law school at Pitt. Easter weekend, ironically.
That is ironic.
Beautiful spring day. I saw Oakland. I was 22, maybe 23. I saw Oakland, and Andy was like, we should move here. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
We had nothing to lose, really. So we got a row home in Bloomfield, which is up the block from where we're recording right now. Our rent was $775 flat.
Wow.
And we started our life here. We thought it was just going to be a stop on an adventure. And then we ended up just finding our community, building our life. And now I live in the suburbs with a 13-month-old son. And I'm very grateful because we took a huge risk coming here, and I just found I grew up a little bit in Pittsburgh in my 20s.
What do you think of the Pittsburgh tradition, the cookie table? Stupid, awesome.
I love it. I was warned about it, and we'll talk about this. Basically, when I was like, can I do wedding planning? And someone was like, yes, but be careful. I'm going to warn you about something called the cookie table, because I'm not from here.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the like, you're getting like, this seems like a really big deal.
Yeah.
But she was right. I love it as a guest. I actually love it as a planner, as long as I'm not directly involved in the setup or breakdown.
Yeah, fair.
Which I had to learn the hard way.
Yes.
Day of Pittsburgh, my wedding planning company, does not plate or coordinate cookie plating, tables management, period, anymore.
Yeah. People get a little intense with it. I do not recommend the 10 to 12 cookies per person that these people in Pittsburgh do. More or less 4 or 5. Truthfully, it's a lot. But from that cookie table, I mean, you could get obviously a chocolate chip cookie anywhere, but it's pictured on a beautiful cookie table. Heather, your favorite cookie is a chocolate chip?
Yes, I'm basic. I love a classic. I love chocolate.
It's my favorite too.
Really. I do love, I need to shout out the like Oreo ball tartare.
You did mention that,
yeah, that's my favorite. And then I'm like, I doubt Jade is going to be like having time this weekend to find and source those or fucking make those herself.
They're tough.
So yeah, it's either that or that. I'm very particular, at least when I was on site at weddings, on what to like give and like treat myself, because there are some great cookies and there are also some duds. So you got to be mindful.
Yeah. Good choice. Love a good chocolate chip.
Thank you.
Absolutely. 2 weeks in a row, because Jason was on and he actually made his own. He's so funny and so cute. He made his own.
That's absolutely adorable.
I know. I was like,
you can't script that.
I was, they were Nestle Toll House. We give them some credit.
Listen, I'll take raw cookie dough.
Right?
Doesn't matter.
Seriously. But we have Grandview Bakery to thank for this. I was so excited to start jumping into your story. I forgot to even mention it. Incredible. But always thank you, Grandview Bakery, of course, paired with some bubbles. Love it. Love it. So you are in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You're in Pittsburgh. You're in Oakland. You went to school for journalism. We know that.
Yes.
So now that you are here in Pittsburgh, what was next?
So I waitressed for a while. I have a background in the service industry. I waitressed throughout college. I just loved the high-paced environment. I think there's a huge pipeline from wedding professional or planner based in the service industry. And then I got into like receptionist work and PR. And then at the time, I was in my mid-20s and I wanted to change the world. I was in my nonprofit girly era. And I got hired at Pittsburgh Ballet Theater.
Okay.
To coordinate all of their events.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in the development department, planning all their events, large scale black tie fundraisers, big revenue goals attached. Very hard to please people who they live that, gala donor life. It taught me a lot and it gave me the skill set I needed. I worked there for about 4.5, 5 years. Another really important part of my story is the dance part. Grew up performing, love dance, was in the competitive dance studio and dance team circuit for better and for worse. It really shaped my character. Always part of my life. So I felt like that job was my calling, like being in the performing arts, especially dance, and connecting that way was like on paper Heather's dream job. So I threw a lot of my personality and identity and value into making that job incredible. Even though I wasn't the one dancing per se, I was still helping bring it to the city of Pittsburgh. So yeah, that is kind of where I started. That was my longest like jobby job. And then it slowly made me miserable.
They all suck the life out of us.
I was listening to your origin story episode and I'm like, damn, we have very similar paths. And it looked great on paper. And I got cute pictures and I got to go backstage in the Benedum and be part of the scene. And just, there were a lot of perks, but at the end of the day, I was making no money. My coworkers were all terrible, except for one. My boss, while she was really, really good, I learned a lot from her. She wasn't the best mentor, manager. Like I just also like a running theme in my life is like I never had a boss that I like aspired to. They always kind of just treated me a little crappy and I was always trying to like get their approval and it always never worked. So little by little, I was like, wow, I'm freaking miserable. Like I would just drive a mile from my apartment into work and like wish I could just keep driving.
Yeah.
And the woman who hired me for that job, she left because her wedding planning business was so successful. So I feel like that's where I got the idea. And then I was in my mid to late 20s about to get engaged and be in that whole scene, which is such a special time in everyone's life. I really, really loved being a bride, obviously. Yeah. I loved the idea of weddings in general. And I knew that with my background, I could probably handle the stress and, you know, just the day-to-day aspect of doing it. So I took her to lunch a few years into my job and just said like, hey, like, do you think I could do this? And without missing a beat, and I'm really grateful for her support because she could have just been like, no. She's like, yeah, you'd be fine. She's like, what you should do actually is niche into day of coordination because none of the planners right now really like day of coordination and there's like a huge gap in the market.
And that's where that came from.
And I was like, okay. So I just took her advice. She warned me about the cookie table and the rest was history. I launched that from my desk at the ballet. Okay. I had some audacity. I sent out little business cards to the board members.
Good for you.
Committee members. Yeah. Which is a running theme, which you'll see in this outline. I just don't care. Like someone's going to give me a shot. And I ended up booking a few of my first gigs through my vendor contacts, actually, with my event planning at the ballet. So, yeah, I lasted 10 months doing both.
That's what I was going to ask. How long was that crossover?
Yeah, it wasn't long. I thought I needed to stay. I was very scared to let that go. Again, my identity was so wrapped up in my role at the ballet, and I still wanted to prove that like I belonged there, but I was talking to the wrong people. Yeah. Also, in addition to this, I was coaching a Division I college dance team. So dance was back in my life and I had a little bit more control over it. So I kind of was like, okay, I could coach this team and get a lot more free time, make more. Doing my own weddings and owning my own company, and then I can let that go. So yeah, it didn't even last a year. My first season I had 10. Second season I got fired from the ballet. My boss was just like putting me out of my own misery. She's like, you can't do this anymore. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that. And I knew in hindsight I would understand where she was coming from. But yeah, then I was like, all right, sink or swim, bitch. Like you have bills to pay. Like, can you do this for real? And I think that year, or maybe like half a season into the third season, I like doubled my salary. That's always like a big goal, right?
Yeah,
like
sure is.
I'm gonna make my salary and prove that I'm like doing this on my own.
Yes.
So that's my little cliff notes into weddings.
So what year are we talking? So now we're in Day of Pittsburgh, but now not necessarily when you launched per se, but now we are in. I
had to write it down because it's also...
I'm the worst with that.
Anything pre-COVID, I'm like, I don't know. I know 2016 was election year. That's about it.
So we are now full-time in Day of Pittsburgh.
Correct.
What year was that?
2016.
Oh my God, amazing. Good for you.
Yeah, at the end of 2016, and then 2017, I was in it.
Okay. So you chose to focus on the niche of Day of Coordination, which was obviously really smart and super beneficial for you, right? So how many, if you feel comfortable putting a number on it, how many weddings, like at your peak, were you doing Day of Coordination a year?
I think my peak was 2021 or 2022. Yeah. And then possibly 2023. We were doing, I think 55 was my big number.
That's huge.
A lot of them were doubles. A few were triples. And then I had one quadruple weekend towards the end of 2023 where I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And one of those weddings was a lead planner's wedding.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
That is a big deal. So this kind of mentor mentioned this. So you hit that niche and you're obviously crushing it. Was there ever a point where you were like, you know, I should branch out. I wish I had other services. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
So I really did only see the path of do partial, do full scale. That's what everyone else does. Right. And like with Day of Coordination, while this might be limiting to some people, you really are capping yourself rate wise. Like I can't charge 5K, 10K, a percentage. Like that's never going to be the reality for me.
Yeah.
However, I can articulate the value.
Yeah.
Of day of coordination, do probably more than what your average month of coordinator is going to do here for you. And then I can create a brand and market it and then scale it and train people to do the Day of Pittsburgh Heather thing without me having to be there specifically. So I knew if I wanted to gross $100,000, I needed to be booking more than one wedding a day or a weekend. So I kind of was like, what if I treated this like a scalable company and not some one woman show, which is so fucking ironic, considering where we're headed.
Yes.
But I was like, I know, and like because I was coaching dance, I know I can teach, I know I can train, I know I can manage a roster. And like if I'm managing successfully 19, 18 to 21 year old college girlies, I could manage a group of 5 people that I handpick to run my company and make them feel like part of something really important. So that's kind of the path I took. I had not seen it anywhere. I'd seen some planning companies outside of Pittsburgh do this, but it was always like, you know when you're like, I could do that better. That's a huge tell for me that like I should be doing it. And I remember listening to a podcast that planner recommended and being like, I could do a pod. Like this is, please. So anytime I get that urge, like I could do this better.
And you follow
it ends up happening not as quickly as I'd like to tell you, but it took me like 2 or 3 years, or it takes like a huge change or shift or me realizing something like an ugly truth to be like, you should be doing this instead.
Right.
Which is another fun theme in my life.
Right. Which is where we're headed.
Let's go.
It is in Heather Davis's story. So when we you're a Day of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So you hit a few points in this time frame where you considered maybe having a partner or thought about getting bigger and bringing on a partner. That happened at some point?
Yeah. So another theme in my life is I was always, and like this is something I've just realized like less than a month ago. So I'm still processing it, and it was kind of like a big like holy shit moment.
And saying that, right? So that's 2025.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 2016.
Way back in the day.
Right?
Yeah. And it was more about having a partner in my coaching. Dance. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know about my story with coaching dance because I don't like to talk about it because it makes me uncomfortable. Because it's vulnerable. Yeah. And that's okay. Like I'm ready to talk about it, which is why when you asked me, I was like, oh, we're going to go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so in tandem, I was thriving Day of Pittsburgh on paper, making really good money, owning my stuff, making these like weddings fucking incredible, like really, really loving that. But I was also realizing a dream I had when I was a kid, like coaching this dance team, building a program from scratch, doing it completely on my own, and really molding these women into confident, athletic, creative, amazing, people. And I was like, this is lonely. It's lonely sometimes. It's isolating. And I had my team of lead planners, but there was never I was never going to partner with Day of Pittsburgh. Like 100%. That was the Heather show. Let's be real. However, I was willing to share so that the clients and the couples felt a connection with their lead planner, because I was taking a huge step back in the day-to-day lead planning on site on Saturdays. Mostly because, 20 is like my max and that's all I'm doing. Yeah. And then it slowly got less and less and I was giving it to my team, which was really cool. Yeah. So yeah, I just always was searching for a partner, and not in a romantic way. I had my husband, we got married in 2019. He's watched this whole thing. He's known me since 2007. Yeah. So he's seen the full circle. But I just feel like I was too scared to step into what I know I need to do on my own. And I was always looking for someone to celebrate all the wins with, but also share the burden and fear and stress with, because it's very scary, paralyzingly scary. So I would search for someone like me, lots of blueprint potential, lots of similarities in the stories. This has happened or 6 times that I'm aware of. So like, it's not really about who's filling that seat. It's more about why I feel like I need to share my seat at all. It has nothing to do with their talent, experience, potential, friendship. Like this is more my problem. And so once I realized that, which again, I just realized this like 4 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, it's not this girl, that girl. It's not this person. The partner I'm looking for, her name is Heather Davis. And that has been like the biggest, I feel like, shift in, I mean, you've seen me launch this business like 8 times. I'm sure it's exhausting to witness just as like a lurker on the gram or whatever. But I finally feel like I'm doing it authentically and I'm doing it alone because I'm meant to, and also I kind of want to.
And I will tell you,
pause right there.
As a colleague, I can feel that this is your most authentic self.
Thank you. Yes, because I don't think you would. You wouldn't do what you're doing, and I wouldn't do what I'm doing if we didn't see that in each other. And 100%. I've been thinking a lot about this specifically with you, and feeling like we've been orbiting around each other, and like I've avoided you. There have been some odd things, and it doesn't happen with everybody. It's very specific, and that's why I'm happy to be here today, because I think with this conversation, like people will hear me if they're open to listening.
Yes, and I want people to hear you because just throughout time in the past, it's just like, this just feels like who you are and where you're meant to be. So I think it's, absolutely. And you finding that realization, I think, is beautiful, but everyone's story is unique and different.
Absolutely.
And, what leads you to each, caveat in your story. And, you're here. You're hitting it. You're hitting your fucking stride, dude.
Thank you.
It's so good. So we're at the first kind of launch of, okay, where did that realization hit of, I want to steer away from wedding planning?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that I want to hit on, and it doesn't, the order doesn't really matter, and it's all kind of, basically the big catalyst for a lot of what's happening right now was COVID. It brought out the truth in a lot of aspects of the world at large, the wedding industry, my relation to coaching that dance team. There are some ugly truths that I did not want to look at because my identity was so wrapped in it. And I was like, if I look at this, I'm a very authentic person. So like, if I don't actually give a shit, I can't fake. Like, that's just like part of who I am. I don't lie. And like, while I might change, I'm doing what I feel is most aligned with me in the moment. So COVID happened. I wasn't getting paid to coach. I was on a volunteer basis. We had to do virtual performances. It just lost, all the magic was gone. And I was really, really burnt out and like carrying this load by myself and not getting a lot out of it. And I ended up feeling the same way about that team that I did about the ballet. So that was happening. By 2021, I resigned. And I was like, I need to let this go because it's ruining my life. Like every single aspect of my life. I was phoning it in with Day of Pittsburgh for about a year. And I was getting away with it because Wedding World was like turned upside down, obviously, by COVID. Lots of different rules, lots of pivoting. And while it was beautiful because I got the podcast and like I was able to see these truths, 2021 kicked my ass because it was that big year of just doing double the work and I wasn't making enough money. And I was really just having, looking back, like an extremely large identity crisis. The resentment started building. This is something, again, I just realized probably over the summer.
The burnout starts to hit you.
I just wasn't really feeling that joy doing my job. And it's not because the brides were crazy and demanding. Some of them were. It wasn't because my vendors sucked or like anything like that. Nothing changed. I'm the one that changed. And it took me a while to see that and be like, but I created this. Like, how can I hate something that I created and that looks so good and is really like leading the charge and the change in this community at times? Why am I miserable? Why do I wake up every Saturday on the wedding day? That used to be my favorite day. Why am I having such a hard time getting on the stories? And I just feel like I kind of outgrew it. And I saw some truths about the wedding industry that is not my responsibility to change.
Yep.
And I thought it was my responsibility for a very long time.
Yeah.
So that was happening because of the podcast and because I was broke in lockdown.
Yeah.
I was like, what can I charge for? Like, how can I make some money? And I started doing very low-key business coaching, single sessions, doing a lot of blogging and copywriting for other wedding professionals, kind of dipping my toes and like using everything I learned from coaching dance and applying it B2B. And I was like, oh, fuck, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. And even before that, like my favorite part of a wedding day always is vendor dinner. And it has nothing to do with eating the shitty meals mostly.
Yeah.
And so much to do with the conversation and just like getting to know other people in wedding world that like get it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that's a problem. Like my favorite part of weddings should be like making the dreams come true for my client. And while I did care about that, my real heart was having these conversations.
Yeah.
And I never wanted them to end. And I was like, can I make a business out of that? Like that's my calling. So I eventually launched Heather Davis Creative.
Yep.
I've been trying to figure out the best way to explain this part of the story. But when I think about it, I just, it was a little bit of a character.
Yeah.
It wasn't really my authentic self, but it was someone that I felt like I needed to be to get that, like, I'm going to change and save wedding world energy.
Okay.
You mentioned tone in the outline, and that was that.
Yeah.
Just very like in your face, fuck you. I don't care if you don't understand me. You need to listen to everything I say, and I know what to do and you don't. So give me money. Little entitled, definitely condescending.
Yeah.
And definitely just, it's like me straddling.
Yeah.
It's hard to market to your peers. There's that dynamic, like trying to be the boss of a creative entrepreneur is never going to work because they started there. Like it would have never worked on me.
Right.
So I feel like I loved Heather Davis Created. I loved that brand. I loved that character, but I outgrew her really fast.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that was having my kid, for sure. Different person. I can't relate to her anymore.
They'll change
I'm not the bitch in the glittery power suit.
Yeah. But I think it's beautiful that you're able to recognize that and just say that head on. You're like, yep, that was my tone.
Like it didn't land with 90% of the community, and we'll talk about this next, because they could sniff that out. Yeah. And none of you are wrong. None of you are crazy. Like I was doing that intentionally. Yeah. And then we can get into other things next, but I wanted to like say that because that was definitely like the point. Yeah.
What made you take that angle?
I just thought I had to be this like aggressive, masculine. I didn't want to be vulnerable. Yeah. I think it was a reaction to having to outgrow wedding world and dance team world and like getting that all taken from me and just kind of being like, I'm taking control back. I'm in charge. I'm in control. Yeah. And that's not the kind of coach I want to be anymore. It doesn't work. And I was speaking this language, but I was telling my brand strategist for this rebrand, like, I'm Kendrick Lamar. Like, I am hard. I am in your face. I call you out. Like, I'll do it with a smile. Yep. But in order to get people there, I need to present something that's also real and authentic. Right. I can't lead with that, bro. Like, it's so like off-putting. Yeah. And I can have the skill set and talent and artistry to back it up, but if no one's going to hear me, then what am I here for? So in this new rebrand to Heather Davis Inc., we sat with that. And I was like, how do I do both? Why do I feel like I need to lead so defensive? And it's because I was scared. And I was also splitting center. So it all makes sense now.
But that's
to me.
But it's a beautiful arc, though. And again, it's
is.
part of your story. And that's where I feel like the misunderstandingness can kind of be, because it's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like
it wasn't authentic.
This is her.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't authentic at all.
This doesn't feel like it.
Another reason is I was trying to fit into wedding world. And I didn't want to leave. I mean, I'm still like part of it, but I'm very much removed now. Yeah. And if I left that behind without knowing what was next, that seemed extremely scary. So that's why I latched on. to my usual patterns of sharing the spotlight and splitting center.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, I'm doubling down in Wedding World. And I'm not meant to change Wedding World. I'm meant to change the world.
Yeah.
And I'm meant to do that alone, fully on center. Again, just realized this a month ago. Ta-da!
I mean, it's a huge pivotal realization, obviously. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Because some of the stuff that you've done, because I've been trying to like hold myself as authentic as possible, like throughout my brand, like entirely and stuff. And I don't know. I'm like so annoying. Like I say to like my husband Jason all the time, I'm like, but I can like feel things.
So
like I can feel people and things.
Yes, and so can I. Like
Yes.
I can see,
Yeah.
and I think that unnerves a lot of people that that don't want to look, and that's gotten me in trouble before.
Yeah.
This only works with consent.
Yes, that's
So
great.
if
point.
you're curious and open, I'll tell you. But if I'm just telling you and you didn't ask, it can come off very, very rude and almost unwelcome.
Yeah.
And I will get rejected because nobody asked for this. And I think with you, I'm like, there's something going on with Jade. She's not like the other girls as far as like wedding planner people. Nothing wrong with any type of wedding planner you are. I support them all needed, whatever. And I was just like, I want to see her. Like two things. I didn't see you until you posted that picture from you at the bash. And then I was like, there she is.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is Jade. This is Jade. And then, exactly. Like, I love that. And then this is a small pond community. You started a podcast and I heard about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, good for her. And then when I heard your origin story, I had no idea. And I was like, this is a really big deal to her, and she was going to do this regardless. And it feels like a big homecoming moment for you to get behind the mic on your own terms. So congratulations.
Thank you.
To do that, because it's very brave to start a podcast.
Thank you. It is. Yeah. I mean, when you started your podcast too, I was like, oh shit, like this is great. Like it's amazing. And one of the things you said on your stories was, it was just funny. Like so many people are out there like saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're like, the only one that's actually started one was Jade.
So like talking means nothing if you're not going to take action. And when I started my podcast, off the top of my head, 3 big players. Oh, I had that idea. Oh, I wanted to do that in addition to the other platforms I run. And I'm just like, yeah, but you didn't. And I did. And also, there's room for everyone. Me having a podcast with this niche category doesn't mean that no one else is allowed.
Yes.
You're the one not giving yourself permission.
Right.
And it might not be your calling. You just might see me and my authenticity and be like, oh, it's working for Heather, so it'll work for me. And it's like, but we're not the same. Right. And like the way I'm doing it is authentic to me, and you need to find what's authentic to you. Yeah. Which again, a lot of people, when I get copied, which is a lot, especially in my copywriting with Day of Pittsburgh, it really offends me because it's my authentic self, and it took me a long time to like craft that shit. Yep. But I understand because they're just trying to do what works, and they're still on their journey. So that stops me from going Heather Davis creative on their ass.
Yes. So we are,
what's next in this chapter, Jade? Tell me more.
Heather Davis Inc. So you hit this point where you decide, so you're actively phasing out of Day of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
You found your calling in coaching. The inspiration from that kind of started to come from the burnout and the vendor tables, which I think is awesome. So we are now working on a rebrand of coaching to Heather Davis Creative.
Yeah.
Right?
From creative
from
Inc.
creative to
It doesn't
Inc.
fucking matter.
Yes. No,
I mean,
I can't read.
No one cares.
It matters.
No one cares.
Well, I do. And that's why you're here, because I care. So we're going into Heather Davis Inc. So let's talk about where that time hit in your life. So you said your kid.
Yeah, last summer. So I spent my pregnancy preparing to personally remove myself from weddings.
Sorry, I'm like the worst.
Oh my God, no, you're fine.
I'm like,
this is the best start to my week. And I was doing all of that through a big retreat.
Yeah.
That you were invited to, as
Yes.
was everyone and their fucking mother, because I'm for everyone, right?
Wow, yeah.
And it was going to be my big segue and then my funnel to build my one-on-one client roster for anyone willing to go.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time on that in my pregnancy.
Yep.
Had my son, 10 days postpartum, I started working again on it.
Yeah.
I did not have a maternity leave. And I look back and it's only been a year. And I was like, wow, like you were doing like a lot. And like maybe you probably just needed a breath.
Yeah.
So we went forward doing this. I was really excited. I created a website, a launch plan, built Heather Davis Creatives like next chapter around this event going well. And then my contact at the venue that was donating the space for free because we had no budget said that the owners were putting the venue up for sale. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, they basically said, you can still have your event because they'll probably won't sell it in time for, I think the event was meant to be in July.
Yeah.
And I was like, at that point, I knew that what I was doing wasn't true to myself, but I'm not a quitter and I don't like letting people down and I don't like letting partners down.
Yeah.
And I was like, so that was a test. And I said, okay, fine, we're still going to have it. Thank you for letting us know. That was really cool. Within a week, my contact at the venue got let go. And she said they realized that this event was donated. So because they weren't making any money, they said they are not willing to host us. And that's when I started laughing because I was like, okay, that's like the first time I believed in the universe doing something. I was just about to say, because I'm not, I was also very allergic to intuition, authenticity, universe woo-woo shit. Like I just don't really have patience for a lot of that. I do now, but that was the first time being like, holy shit, the universe doesn't want me to have this. And it was so hard for me to look at that, even though I knew it was true. Yeah. So I had two choices. I could scramble and be very COVID about it and switch venues and let people like show up for people. And then it would probably crash and burn even worse than it already had.
Yeah.
Or I can just tell them the truth and put this to bed and take some space because I had no idea. If this event wasn't going to work, I had no business model, plan, or like it was almost like, am I being forced back into lead planning? So I canceled it. I sent a very vulnerable email to the people who bought tickets. And I actually just looked at this because I feel like a lot of this I did not remember. We sold 19 tickets.
Okay.
Out of those 19 wedding pros, 15 of them before buying that ticket worked with me privately one-on-one in some capacity since 2020.
Okay.
Some were big retainers.
Yep.
Some were just one-on-one sessions. So like it varied. And then out of those 15, 5 of them are on my roster right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I look at it that way, it's like, okay, I might not have nailed it, but the people that could understand me and got that glimpse of me outside of like the Heather Power Suit bitch, they were willing to wait for me. Yeah. And then when I came back, they committed. So when I think of it that way, like I needed to go through it. And then on the way here, I came up with the name of that retreat.
Which was been brilliant in my
rehearsal.
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a
Very
rehearsal
smart.
for me.
Here we are.
And now this summer is going to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Building that out right now.
Yeah. So
because that canceled.
Yeah.
I took a lot of space from everybody and everything. And I was like, I need to reset. And like also in postpartum haze, you don't know who the fuck you are. It's a lot. I had no childcare at the time. My mom lived an hour away. So I ended up taking all my savings and getting formal childcare.
Yep.
And then I announced, so that's when I realized like I'm not meant to stay in wedding world. I'm meant for something a little bit bigger. And the people in wedding world who understand and are curious and open, they're going to come with me.
Yeah.
Most of them won't. And that's okay, because I'm going to make room for other people. So I announced in July that 2025 would be my final season as CEO. I delegated all of the weddings that I personally was lead planning for in the fall. And I led my last wedding in June.
How's that feel?
It felt really, really good. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a feeling. And it was actually at the Roxy Inn, which is where I got married.
You got married.
Yeah. So it was perfect. And it was a really, really good day. Yeah. DJ Jess was there. A lot of our planner friends were there. Vendor friends, sorry. And yeah, so I'm done unless there's some crazy situation in which I need to save my own day, which I like have a fantasy of being like getting a phone call that I have to, and like I would have a blast with it, but I think we're fine.
Good. So
yeah, I announced that, and once I announced that, I was like, I feel so much better. Like, now what? Yep. What's next? And I've tried to avoid coaching. It broke my heart. Like, leaving that dance team was like the biggest heartbreak of my entire life. And I realized I was pushing that away because I got so hurt. And then I was like, maybe I can coach. It's just going to look a little bit different. Yeah. And that's kind of the catalyst to Heather Davis Inc. Well, that's a lot. So
with Heather Davis Creative, like, your goal was it to coach with that as well,
yes,
right?
But I wasn't calling it that.
Okay.
I had someone tell me that their experience with me wasn't like coaching.
Okay.
And I remember being like, yeah, I hated Coach Heather.
Yeah, fuck her.
Yeah, she's out. And she's like, I feel like it was more consulting and like da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah. So I like ran with that. I'm easily impressionable. I know you might not think that, but like I listen and I adapt when needed, and sometimes I overcorrect. And when I think back to what this person was trying to say, I think she wanted to be my equal. And so by taking coach out of it, I wasn't in charge of her. We were equal. And then I realized, like, the type of coach I want to be is all of those things, like a mentor, a friend, a strategist, a writer, a planner, a director. And I want it to be horizontal. I don't want it to be vertical. I want it to be a partnership. Yeah. So like, I'm getting partnerships, but it's just looking really different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be my client's partner in their vision. Right. It's their vision. We're going to build it together. Right. And then they are going to step onto center. Right. And live that vision after our relationship is over.
But you are a massive part of that vision.
Yes.
And from a, business standpoint, you're still solo.
Yes.
Which is where you wanted to be, right? Yes. And to stay.
Yes. It's happened so many times, and every time I'm like, that's the last time. I've weeded. I'm not doing it again. And then fucking 4 weeks ago, Jade, I was like, you're doing it again, bitch. Like, draw some boundaries, take some space, and stop waiting for someone to share this seat, because you take up the whole seat, and that's how it should be. And that's okay.
Yeah, but it's interesting, though, that, like, you have wanted someone to be with you, right? But this is like the best of both worlds. I know. Where you're going. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and like, we were voice noting back and forth. Also, I don't know you that well yet, but I do know you, and you know me, and that's why we're here. But like, I realized, wait, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
It's okay, I do it all the time.
Something about, the reason why these people in partner kept blowing up in my face, and I kept like self-sabotaging almost. Yeah. Because it has nothing to do with them. There was no transaction or formal agreement. I was giving, being like, they deserve it. They do so much for me. Like, they're talented. They're my secret sauce. And it's like, again, not about them. It's about me being like, no, give yourself some fucking credit. Like, you did this. And so the last time this just happened, she wasn't even asking for it. Like, I was just offering, and she was taking it, because why wouldn't you? Right. And then it ended up just not working out, because it's not meant to be that way. But when there's a formality and expectations and a relationship that's, agreed upon, and we're both going into this 50-50, you're going to get this and I'm going to get this, and then you're going to go do this dope shit. Right. That's where the magic happens. Yeah. And like, that's why my current client roster is thriving. And I was so scared to do this because I was like, I don't want to blow up a relationship with a client. Like, that sounds so terrible.
Yeah.
And not one of them has that even been close to happening. Right. And I just go with my intuition and they trust me. And yeah, it's just been like really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally the best of both worlds.
Truly. I'm just realizing this right now.
Yeah. Right? It's amazing.
I have partners.
Yeah. But not from a back end business standpoint, which is ideal, because you and I were voice texting about that too, like about partners and how it can it can be hard. Like people like us, like it's like having to talk to somebody and they have to okay something as well.
I don't like authority.
No.
I never have.
It's really hard.
Yeah, and I don't like being told what to do, even though they sometimes might be doing what's best for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And you are self-taught in a lot of ways. And I am too.
Yes.
But nowhere. What you're doing, I think, is really great. And I think it's going to continue to be really great and get bigger. Honestly, I mean that.
Thank you.
So knowing that you're self-taught and all this is
it's just like
it's amazing.
It's really hard to be first.
Yeah.
Like same thing with Day of Pittsburgh. Like nobody I could see was doing it like that, and I just had to try. And like nobody was marketing it like that. Nobody. And then all of a sudden, people realized it was working, and they were grabbing onto that because I was first. And now like that's why I'm not so like I mean, I had a grieving moment having this realization about Day of Pittsburgh, but like it wasn't that hard for me to let it go because there are so many amazing, talented women behind me who have the skills and the passion and the grit to do this their own way. And like, I don't feel like the community is missing anything front facing, client to client, if I were to step into this. And I did launch Heather Davis Inc. with the niche of wedding pros still, knowing eventually I'll just get to women.
Right.
And then I realized like, oh, I'm there. And, but before that I was like, why would I only affect 50 weddings in Pittsburgh when I could affect 500 or 1,000 by working and like vision building with other wedding professionals, planners, vendors, whatever. I'm still doing that. It's just not direct, and I'm actually having a bigger impact on the industry that way. And I will say like 7, 8 out of 10 of my clients right now are in wedding world, and it's going to be like that for a little bit because that's my platform and community, and I'm always honored when a wedding person hires me because it can be very vulnerable. But eventually I'm already doing it. Like I just want women with a vision, and I'm now only working with wedding professionals who want to do something else outside of wedding world.
So you rewrote your website and a copy of it to speak to that.
Yes,
exactly.
And
you just did this.
I just did this again. I had this epiphany that I was splitting center again.
Yeah.
And I it was so obvious, but also so close. And it was letting go of this person is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it had to be done, and that website wasn't going to happen unless I had that. Like it was like all happening. And yeah, I was like, no more wedding pros. Like I'm ready for women, like period. And I adjusted my messaging to be like, if you can understand my language, you can insert whatever your vision is and know that I'm your girl. And it's working.
Insert me. It's just interesting. It
Girl?
is. I know, because like obviously we've known of each other for how long, but never really talked. I met your sister.
So yes, like here's how I feel. If you get my sister, I'm already in because a lot of people don't see that. And like her early adopters, like when she launched here in Pittsburgh, I'm very aware. And the video is such an easy thing to I guess commit to.
Yeah.
And then once you get in there, it's only a matter of time. So like I saw that first and foremost, and that's the first time I spoke to you because I was like, she's obviously dope. She hired Hannah. Like you need to go say hello.
Thank you.
So yeah. keep going.
Well,
Sorry.
it meant a lot to me that you came over and said hello at a planner event that we were both at, because there is like kind of like an intimidation sometimes. Like it's like, oh my God, like
horrifying.
It's so scary, and it's just like, I know of her, like I know of that tone, and I was just like, I don't know, you know.
Well, it's because we're very similar.
Yeah.
So this has happened a few times.
Yeah.
And it always makes me laugh because it's like, that's actually who you're meant to speak to,
right.
bro. Like,
Not
get over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think I have a habit of when I see myself, I go opposite because I'm just like, I can't. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this has happened with a few people, and it always ends up being something like really cool.
Right.
And I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you were ready for me or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we're ready now.
We are so ready now. And your beautiful rebrand of Heather Davis Inc.
Thank you.
The coaching, like the universe and the timing of everything is just so weird.
It's
so
creepy. I can't even look
weird.
directly out of it. Like,
it's horrifying.
I know. And like, that's why, so like, if I didn't step into myself,
crazy,
if I didn't let this presence go, I would be sacrificing you. Like, I know I'm like, someone is out there, someone's going to fill out my form. I don't know who the fuck it is. I'm like, but I trust that they will find me and I will be ready. And it ended up being you.
Weird.
It's very weird.
And so I think you announced either your new podcast or the new website on Thursday, and did I fill out the form on Friday?
Yeah, so Thursday I hit publish, and then as soon as that project was done, and it was a very heavy lift, took weeks, I was like, oh my fucking God, I know the name of my podcast. I'm ready for the podcast, because I was getting signs from everybody like, when are you getting back? And I'm like, I don't have room for that. I was still not, I wasn't aware of the fact that like, I have a voice, I have a platform, I have a message, I need to I am a performer.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I hit publish, I was like, oh, podcast, I got so stoked. I put the fucking cover art on my grid.
Yeah. Which is so, I love it.
Thanks.
Love it.
That's
so good.
that was just the first draft. I made some edits.
I love it.
But whatever. And then I got your inquiry saying like, come on this podcast too, if you want. And I was like, what the I'm like, this is a bridge for me to
weird.
get back behind the mic. And like, it's also so perfect because you're in wedding world and you are neutral. You are nowhere near a Heather Davis fan, because I can tell. And like, you're like, fuck that shit. Like, it doesn't work on you. It works on some people. And it is a performance, but it's true. You know what I mean?
You're so funny.
Yeah. So it's just like, I mean, I couldn't deny this if I tried.
Yeah.
And that's why like I did have so much fun with your inquiry. That's why I did say yes to this. And we did have, full disclosure, a single session a few months ago.
Yeah, January, February, I think.
Yeah, and I was like, you don't know this, but the referral program proposal, that was for you.
Not just for
It
me.
was. I was like, I'm getting Jade. I'm like,
No way.
Yes, absolutely. And like, I got a few other people on that referral program, and like, I made some money. Like, obviously, like, this isn't a charity, but I was like, if Jade says yes to this, I'm like, I know. I'm like, I am certain. You were the first person to commit. You did my free session. And I was like, before that session, I was like, I'm so excited. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but like, this is going to be awesome.
And, you know, even though this is like, again, I always say like, not to minimize what the years I've put in, but going into 7 years of Joyful
that's
Events,
a long ass time.
I'm just like, well, you know, I know it's not 15, but it's not bad. Like, it's enough to kind of know what's going on. And I'm not ignorant to talking to people and learning more. Like, what am I missing? Like, how do I grow from here? Like, let's talk to people. And when, like, honestly, like, it's just so funny because when you did do that, I was like, I'm like,
you want to launch a referral program? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm like thinking, no. I meant
you
like
could.
when you like tagged and everything, I was like, this is what she's doing is very smart.
I'm a marketer.
Yes, and I respect that.
I'm not a wedding planner.
And it shows, and it's very smart. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, do I do this? It's like, I feel like I need to do this.
You do.
And I just like sat and like honestly, like I had colleagues like messaging me like, what do you think? Like, would you do this? And I'm just like,
I heard on your podcast that you're about the numbers and logic. And I was like, I'm going to throw out some fucking stats. I was like, if you think this is not for you, that's fine. But if you, like, have you booked a wedding from that referral program? Not yet? Okay. We can talk about that.
I haven't.
Interesting.
I haven't. But I thought too, like I was like the brands like kind of makes sense. So that's why I was like, I think.
Oh yeah, you are aligned with Day of Pittsburgh,
and that's
more
why
than
I was like,
others.
this makes sense,
100%. And yeah, that's why I like not going there because we're too similar. And anyways, can I ask you what did you think after our private session when you got to see?
Yeah, 100%.
Like behind.
I felt
that.
So honestly, what I thought was, this is not the Heather Davis that I thought. I feel like she cares because I think in past tone, I wasn't that whole community over competition thing.
Like unbothered.
Yeah. But I was like, wait a second. I actually think she
I really care.
might like me.
I really like
she
you.
Cares. And whether it's it just felt real and it felt very refreshing and it felt, I don't know, like I was just like, oh yeah, like fuck yeah, let's do this. Like everything we talked about, I was like so ready like for the next thing. I was like, oh my God, I feel good again because I was just like so over where I was at and
I'm so glad.
But I did. I feel great.
I have a client. She was off-boarded this week, so like we're not formally working together anymore. And I don't think she would be upset if I shared this, but she had said, I used to really not like you. I used to think you were like extremely obnoxious, and I was a little turned off, but I would still consume all of your content. And she's like, and then when I got to know you, like I realized like that's not the whole story. And
exactly.
So with that and what she said, I was like, why don't you just be that person? Like, why are you so scared? Yeah. Because the truth is, I really, really care, and I really, really believe. Like when I see someone who I know can do it, I have to align myself with them. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
and thanks for being open to even doing it.
Yeah. It was smart, and I just respect like smart people.
You can be
like,
smart and authentic and strategic and try to make money. Like those are all things that can exist in the same person. It doesn't make you bad or like not a team player.
Yeah. I was like, wait, pay for the referral program, but get a session.
Free fucking session.
No problem.
Yeah. And like I'm
like,
willing
I'd love
to give.
To talk to her.
Like I will give until you believe, and then it will all come back around, which is what's happening. So I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I think is so it's just interesting how the universe is doing all this. So we had that session.
Yes.
And just throughout all of this, it's been cultivating, like, because I had, like, my business idea, I think, right before our session. Or it was, like, similar. I don't remember the timing of it. But I've been sitting on a new idea that we're not going to fully disclose.
Not yet.
Not yet. But this new idea, slightly, like, definitely outside of wedding world, but kind of very low-key in it.
It's close enough where I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
And it takes everything. This is you. And that's why I was like a little just curious, because I'm like, I don't see Jade in like any of this shit. And I think that's why. Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very close to your heart. It's close to my heart. Keep talking. Go ahead. I'm so excited.
It speaks to both of us from what we're going through. And I think it's going to speak to a lot more people.
Yeah, it speaks to us. It solves a real problem, which I think is the number one reason to start a business, in addition to it being like, I can't not do this, which is how I felt about Heather Davis Inc. And like, all I want is to work with women who have a vision, and like you're a woman who has like a really dope vision that I believe in. So I'm very, very hyped for you.
And I know, like, similar, right? Like, I don't want a partner in this. I don't, because I know I can't. Like, I won't. It won't go well if I have a partner.
You don't need one.
But I need someone that can be beside me, helping me get this going. And even then, if it's checking in annually or whatever, and then if it gets even bigger, okay, Heather, let's go.
Step 1.
We're going to step 2, right?
So, I can see you on Shark Tank, like getting, like I'm literally like, Barbara and Lori would co-offer this vision. Oh my God. I know it. I absolutely know it. No, I know. Right? But like, this is just step 1, and like you said, like, where it goes from here, we'll see. But I know that it's going, and I know how it feels to have to straddle what is about to be a milestone wedding season with the next step in your life. Because a lot of people, this is where I get like, oh, no wonder why. Most people, they're totally happy doing this. And like, that's as far as they want to take their life.
Yeah.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But like, to me, it's like, this isn't enough. I want more. And I'm feeling very suffocated and boxed in. And like, I shouldn't be taking that out on everyone else. Like, this is a Heather problem. And it's risky to grow. And I thought I was done growing. Pittsburgh and Wedding World is a small pond. I'm a big fucking fish. I am a huge fish. And I was fine with that. I loved it because I was getting all my needs met through it. But then something happened in the summer when I was like, oh, I am outgrowing this pond. Where does that lead? And last month I was like, you're getting on much bigger stages. You're working with much different people. And that's going to make you like stoked.
Absolutely.
And change lives. So, yeah.
And it's definitely happening. And I believe in all that. I do. And I think it's, like I said, it's hard not to like I welcome new people and doing things, and you know, I genuinely
you got to keep that guard up though. Like, I feel like trusting someone like this is a huge risk, which is why I believe in showing and giving, so I can earn your trust. And that's, again, like I learned a lot the past 6 months, just getting into the beginning of the year. How do I prove it? How do I support without taking the spotlight for myself? Like, how do I not do that? And it's by centering my clients and guiding them towards their center, because we all have a different center. So yeah, it's working. And I've said to my husband, I was like, I know the rest of my life isn't going to be wedding planning and coordination. It's not. It's huge. A child will Congratulations.
change you.
Yeah. And it's just like, there's nothing wrong with your bride era. Like, those things are important. You should be passionate about your day, every single minute of your day. You should have someone in your corner, especially as a planner, that cares just as much. And that wasn't in me anymore, and it wasn't fair. So I can still be the CEO and founder and manage my team, because I'm much more lit up by watching them do this than me having to do it directly. And then I can focus on working with dope women like you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's scary to step out of Wedding World. It feels wrong. It feels very, very uncomfortable, and I'm happy to help you navigate that, because you're going to have, it's not going to be easy. It's going to hurt sometimes, and there have been very painful moments for me, but I wouldn't change it. Like,
I know.
I'm fine.
But that is why, so obviously if you haven't like picked up on like what we're talking about, so Heather and I are working together.
We are. Welcome.
On something very big that we both believe in. But it was funny. I was just sitting at my computer late at night on a Friday. Jason was, I don't know, gone. And it's funny. He hasn't even like been doing anything. But the one night he's like gone and we're not watching TV, I'm just like, and I'm just reading your website. I'm just thinking. I'm like, literally, like, I'm like,
I'm going to throw up.
And I was like, poured a glass of wine. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this.
I was sitting on my couch. I think I was just exhausted. And you know, when you launch something, you get like some likes and comments, but it's like, all right, now what? And then I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the podcast moving. And like, I got really inspired, and I'm like, I will find someone from the podcast. And then I was on my couch watching a show, I think. And you know me, I'm fucking on my email all the time, please. And I saw Dubsado come in, and I was like, no way. I'm like, is this a lead from my new website? And then I was like, it's fucking Jade. Are you serious? I like threw my phone. I was like, Andy? He's like, what? And I'm like, I just got a lead. I'm like, it's the lead. So yeah, please know that like we were mirroring each other. It is
mirroring.
Crazy.
It's so wild. Like, I just was like, I'm going to do it. And I sat on that form for a while and was just like taking my time filling it out. I was like, I'm going to tell her everything that I'm thinking. I couldn't even open it. I waited until Saturday because I was like, this is enough for me. I'm like, I'm not ready to open it. And then when you share, because I just thought it was going to be like the usual, again, nothing wrong with scaling your team or niching down in Wedding World, like all of those things that like I'm pretty good at. Yeah. They don't light me up as much anymore. Right. And then when I read
why you wanted to hire me, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted. Like, this is exactly who I was talking to. And I, again, like, when people see what you're doing, they're going to be floored.
I hope so.
They will.
Thank you. But it will, again, not possible because I just know I can't do this without you. So I'm really excited.
You can. But this will be way faster and better. Way more fun. It'll just be way more fun. And that's what I tell everyone. I'm not here to make shit up for you. You have to have an awareness of your vision, but I'm here to make it better and faster. It's like you don't want to waste another year.
Yeah.
And you won't.
That's where I'm at. And I can't let the idea out of my mind. I just know I have to do this. It's coming. So we're doing it. Stay tuned, everyone. Stay tuned. Excited. Which brings us to your new podcast.
Yes.
Working Out Loud. Do you have a date?
The Work Out Loud podcast.
Work Out Loud.
May, mid to late May. I was wondering if you would let me read the description for the first time on air.
Please.
Okay. I wrote it down because I want to hear what you think about it. And then I also I haven't done this yet. Okay.
Work Out Loud.
So the Work Out Loud podcast with Heather Davis. Want to grow from vision boarding to vision... Great. Want to grow from vision boarding to vision building? Recovering girl boss, Heather Davis is giving your future self the mic. For women ready to stop faking it, start making it, this podcast is your creative wake-up call to rewrite the rules of who you're allowed to be and finally take center stage in your own life. Whether you're pivoting in your business, reconnecting with your creativity, or just know in your gut that you're meant for so much more, join Heather Davis for candid conversations and real deal strategies to help you turn your what ifs into wild success. Unmute your magic, work out loud.
It's perfect.
Thank you.
I love it.
I wrote that on Friday while you were
love it.
perusing my inquiry form.
I love it. So if that speaks to you, listen to Heather's new podcast, Work Out Loud. And if this podcast, this episode spoke to you about, launching into a new era maybe of your life or your business, HeatherDavisInc.com is where to find her. And I'm just so grateful you're here today.
Likewise, your best is yet to come, and I'm really happy to be a small part of it.
Thank you.
Cheers
I'm excited.
To you.
Thanks. Stay tuned, everyone.